few minutes of what I'm up to today. It's always something different. I think I've probably mentioned a little bit before about having a few stomach troubles and digestion problems, and so I've been slowly looking at changing my diet a little bit. While I've always tried to be fairly healthy, eating whole grains and lots of vegetables, I've been adding, we were actually vegetarian for a couple of years quite a while ago, but I've been adding more vegetarian back into my diet, more vegetarian meals, and I've become a little bit interested in things that are fermented. For instance, I've done the little video on the sourdough bread that I made, the spelt bread, and then yesterday I used some of the leftover starter and made a sourdough pizza crust and pizza. So for a while now, I've wanted to try homemade sauerkraut because it's naturally fermented. The recipe is very, very simple. I have shredded, I really like purple cabbage, and so I've shredded purple cabbage. You can do it with regular cabbage, and I've also just looked up some recipes, and they use all kinds of different vegetables in it. So in with the purple cabbage, I've seen shredded carrots and a few other things. But I thought for today, since I've never done it before, I was going to give it a try. So the only ingredient, believe it or not, a couple people have said to me, "Oh, vinegar." No, there's no actual vinegar. That's what the fermentation process does, is it makes it sour. So the only ingredients are the cabbage or the vegetable and some salt. And basically what it says is you put the salt on the cabbage and then you massage it. Wish it was me. And eventually, I think it takes about 10 minutes. Eventually, it'll go limp and some water will come out of it. And that's what you want. And I'm doing a half recipe today just to try it. It called for 8 cups of the purple cabbage. And I think it was 1 3/4 to 2 teaspoons of salt. So, or maybe it was 1 1/2 to 2. So I did 4 cups of the cabbage, and I did 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And the other thing that it says is that you can taste it, and if you think it needs more salt, you can. And if you think it needs less salt, you can rinse it and get some of the salt out. So I decided to err on the easy side, and I just put about 3/4 of a teaspoon, and we'll give it a try there. So I've been massaging it. It's not completely wilty. It's still kind of crispy. You can probably hear the squeaking. I decided for the green one, I guess, for green cabbage, you wouldn't necessarily need to wear the gloves, but if I don't want to have purple hands all for the next few days, I figured I'd get the gloves. So that's what was keeping me, actually. I've had the purple cabbage for a while, but I kept forgetting to go pick up the rubber gloves, and I got them yesterday. So I'm going to be here doing this for a little bit. I just thought I'd show you the process. And it goes, you can have a mason jar, but I just happen to have this jar that I was doing my sourdough in. It has to be sealed, and apparently there are jars that you can buy for actually making sauerkraut. So they have some kind of, oh, I know what it was, I read, you want this to be completely covered by the liquid. And I read in one of the recipes it even said to put a little bit of filtered water on top if there's not enough liquid to cover it. And it can float up. So I think that the sauerkraut jars that you can buy have something in them that you can push. It has to be sealed, but there's something that pushes down onto the cabbage or the vegetable that you're doing and keeps it submerged. I can see that this is, I don't really see any water yet, but it is sort of getting a little bit limp and a little bit wet. Now on another site, what I saw was that you could take one of the leaves, this is one of the outer leaves, I would wash it off, and you can push it down into the jar and put something, you can push it down and just so that it will hold all of this down. And according to the recipes, I mean, I can link one, but I just basically looked it up and read a few different recipes and read the directions and the salt to cabbage ratio. It's pretty simple. So I would just recommend, I'll post which one I was looking at, but it certainly helps to kind of read it a little bit first. It's, as you can see, this is it. I just chopped it, put it in the bowl, added the salt, and when I think it's wilty enough, I'll put it in the jar and make sure that it's got enough liquid to cover it and leave it 2 to 3 days. And it says that you can taste it, and if it's sour enough, if it's how you would like your sauerkraut, then you can eat it, because I mean basically it's just the cabbage and the salt, so it's edible. And there are some other hints there about as far as if you would happen to develop mold or if it's stinky, but from what I read, it seems like a pretty simple process. So I'm going to stand here and knead for a little while, and then I will let you know either later, or I just thought I'd show you what it looked like in the jar. It's so pretty, and I don't know if I can, there's a glare from my window. Still a glare in a different place. And I got the gloves off, so I'm just going to have some purple. Just want to show you how pretty it is. Can you see that? I just find it such a pretty color. So now what I've done is I washed there isn't enough liquid to cover the whole thing, so I am going to put some of my water in the fridge that's filtered, and I did save a leaf, and I'm going to press the leaf in like that. So one big leaf. Then I'm just going to put a little bit of water to cover it and put the cover on, and I have to go double check where to put it. If it's in a cool place, a warm place, out of the sun, I will double check that and I'll add it in later. The phone rang and I had to stop, and so while I was talking I did a couple little things. The only thing I did was I already showed you all of the stir fry that's going to go in. So I looked online and I didn't use an exact recipe. This is what I usually do. I looked at a couple of different ones and kind of got the idea and then went with it. So what I've done is I made a little marinade with some sesame oil, some chili sauce, a very little bit, no measurements again, I just go by eye, maybe a teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar, maybe a teaspoon of maple syrup, a little bit of ginger, and I also juiced an orange. And so this is what it looks like. It's kind of an orangey red color. And what I've put in here is tempeh, which is, I'm going to get the box out of the fridge. I've never even tried it before, but it's made from soybeans, as is tofu, but the difference I've learned is that this is fermented rather than ground up soybeans like the tofu is. This is partially ground up, put into a kind of a large flat shape like this, so you can still see the beans in it, and then it's left, usually I've seen them done like in a cotton bag up on a shelf where it's warm, and it's left for a certain number of days. So I decided I wasn't going to try making it on my own, so I bought it because I've never even tasted it before. I didn't even try it in the marinade yet. We love tofu, so, but this is a little bit different because it is partly fermented. So I made the little bit of marinade and it's soaking in it, and then what the directions are is I can saute the tempeh, which looks like this now that I've cut it up. I can saute the tempeh in the frying pan until it's grilled nicely. Then I can put that aside or put it out into a bowl. Then I will do all of the stir-fry veggies, and then I can pour the marinade sauce back in over top of it and let it simmer and bubble a little bit and thicken up. So I've decided to try that as an alternative to doing the stir-fry with tofu. I have some leftover quinoa in the fridge, so I think I'll serve it with quinoa, but we also have, sometimes, we have brown rice, whole wheat rice, but it just happens I have leftover quinoa, so that's what we're going to have tonight. So I just thought I would just give you, and the apple cider vinegar, I also could have used rice vinegar, which I have, but couldn't find, so I grabbed this one. A little bit of ginger. The other thing that would be nice in it would be sesame seeds, but I don't have any in the house right now. But there is some sesame oil in it for flavoring. So I can see if I can take a picture or a short little movie once I get it all in the frying pan and see what it's like. And I'll let you know what it tastes like after we get to give it a try. So what you see here is I've got the marinated tempeh in the frying pan. It's just starting to simmer. I'll let that cook and brown up a little bit. Then I will take it out and put it in a bowl, and I'll throw the vegetables in with it. You're going to laugh at this. I wonder how many people have done this. You can see I'm using a cast iron frying pan here, but usually when I'm doing a stir fry, I use a non-stick frying pan, which was this one, which I started out with, and then I did a silly thing. I set it down over on the side of my stove, but on the stove, I had one of these because I was trying to open something. It's rubber. Just had it sitting there, which was fine. The stove wasn't on, but I picked the frying pan up off of this burner here because it was a little too hot. It was sizzling. Took it over here, set it down, stuck the rubber to the bottom of the frying pan. Hadn't quite realized it at first, peeled it off quick, put it back on the burner, but then I did manage to get it off the bottom of the pan. The bottom of the pan is clean now. It's scraped off. But you can still see I have to wait for the burner to cool before I can clean it off. So I'm probably still going to switch it out and throw it into the other pan and put it on the burner that it's on, because I find the other one is, the non-stick is a little bit better to use for my stir fries. So there, now you can see I switched, I took the other one off the heat with the tempeh that's cooked, and I switched and went back to my non-stick one for the vegetables. Hopefully I can do this one without causing any more problems. So I'm going to sign off now and stir the vegetables up and add the marinade sauce to it and the tempeh back in and serve it with some quinoa, and I'll try to put a picture in at the end and let you know. I did just taste a little bit of the tempeh, and it does taste very much like tofu, but there is a little bit of a different taste. I think once it's in with the vegetables and the marinade, it should be okay. So I'll let you know. I'll show you a picture later. Hi, we came downtown today to do some errands, and we just parked at the waterfront. There's a road that goes along here, and there's some parking places. And so we've parked here. We brought our little picnic lunch, just a quick little lunch, because we have one more errand to do, and it's so nice out. We just thought we'd get outside. So I'm just giving you a little view of one of the downtown parts. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me because of the cars behind me. And the ice will be melting soon. It's starting to melt out in the harbor, but it hasn't melted here yet. And this is the other side of the street. It's going to be noisy with cars. And there's a place to sit, and there's parking places on this side as well. Really nice in the summer. See people out here picnicking and kayaking, and it's right in our downtown.